Welcome back to Touring the AFC South. I'm your host, Mike Patton. At the beginning of the show, we've got a kind of a picture of everything with Deshaun Watson in regards to the Houston Texans. But of course, we have to talk about his current team, the Cleveland Browns, which is where he will be playing once the suspension is over. And I wanted to get a unique perspective on Deshaun Watson, the Browns, things like that. So I figured none other than let's get a someone that is a combination of a lawyer and a Browns fan. Yes, there is that combination out there. And I found her. It is Miss Hailee Murphy. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Definitely. Now, I have to ask, you're a Cleveland Browns fan and a lawyer. How did that combination come about?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Detroit, and so shockingly, I was a Lions fan previously, but my college football allegiances lie with Michigan State. And so when Baker Mayfield was in college and he planted the flag at Ohio State, it just kind of resonated with me, and I was like, I kind of like this guy. I like his grit. I like his sassiness. So I followed him into the NFL, and here we are. Cleveland drafted Baker Mayfield first overall. And now I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and I'm staying, unfortunately.
I hear you. Now, of course, you just completed law school, so everyone knows. So I guess a round of applause there for you.
Thank you. Just took the bar last week, so that was a lot.
I bet it was. Now, speaking of a lot, definitely this ruling has, uh, you know, basically a lot of feelings have been put out there about the ruling as well in terms of Deshaun Watson, a 6 game suspension. What were your thoughts originally when you saw it first?
So when I first saw it, obviously none of us knew about any of the reasoning behind why Honorable Robinson ruled this way. So at first I was a little, I did kind of predict this early on, I think in March, I mean, not March, May a little bit. I said 6 to 8 games. That's kind of how I was leaning. And then, throughout that time, we kind of heard snippets of each side's arguments. And I was kind of still leaning towards 8 games on the heavier side. But today, when I saw six, I was a little bit shocked, little not, but a little shocked. And then when her opinion was released, I sat down, I broke it down, and I 100% agree with it. I absolutely see where she's coming from, and I think that to be able to fully understand the gravity of the situation, you honestly should sit down and read this opinion if you're going to have any sort of thoughts about the situation, because there's a lot to unpack in that 16-page document.
Gotcha. Now, I will say that I'm kind of like I thought more, but of course I do get the he said she said that kind of is involved in it, and none of the president is also in terms of the NFL, in terms of being found guilty or not guilty. I do get that part of it, although I do still feel more games there, but it is what it is at this point now. Now, what were your thoughts when he first when the Browns first traded for him, before any ruling, before anything like that was even put out there?
It was gut wrenching. I'm not gonna lie. Just it's not so much of a is he innocent, is he guilty? It was why is an organization like the Browns or really any NFL team wanting to insert themselves into something so horrific immediately and willing to pay so much money for something that is so uncertain, because at that point they didn't really know what was going to happen with any of this. They didn't really have all of the facts. We didn't have any of the facts. Like, it was very much so still up in the air at that point. So it was kind of gut wrenching, and I was a little surprised. And the lack of communication, I think, that came from the front office, the Browns front office, to the public of this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and this is our view on it. I think that was also kind of concerning. But as time has gone on, I've warmed up to the idea, and after today, I do think that the correct punishment was in place.
Gotcha. Well, one thing I do wonder as well is, Deshaun Watson, of course, we know his history, in terms of everything, and we know prior to this, his history. Um, do you what do you feel about some of the women's opinions that are actually talking about him and their thoughts about him as well, especially coming from some Cleveland Browns fans that are women as well?
Yeah, I've seen opinions all over the board. I've seen women who are just completely disgusted. I've seen women who are saying this is business, business is business. Let's focus on football. Um, Honestly, I think that it's a personal choice. For me, I was slightly more um, using my morals and my opinions at first, and now I'm kind of using the legal logic and reasoning aspect of it, because now, with this suspension, it is more precedent based rather than fact based or opinion based. But with fans, it has been shocking. There's, this is a very polarizing topic. And on platforms like Twitter, people like to speak without knowing what they're talking about. Ignorance is bliss, but in this case, it's not. And I think that there's just been a lot of rash things that are being said, and I was shocked at the, you know, when the first opinions about this were very much so business is business. Let's stick to football. Let's just talk about football. Football, this is outside of football, and a lot of it was coming from women. And then I think once more women were coming up, more massage therapists were coming out with allegations, I think people started to really take it seriously. And then now I think people are really understanding the gravity of the situation.
Gotcha. One thing I want to be careful about doing is understanding that this is, these they are actual people involved. There are actual people involved. There are actual women involved, and I don't want to feel like To me personally, I don't want to feel like I'm disregarding their feelings for a decision, and that's kind of where I kind of am right now in terms of everything. And I don't know all what happened. I don't think anybody will ever know all of what happened except for the people that were involved. But I just kind of err on that side currently with me right now. But I want to also talk about another thing. I did notice on Twitter, there was a lot of comparisons between this punishment and comparing it to the Calvin Ridley punishment. And I noticed you took a keen liking to that and explaining it. Can you kind of break down why that comparison may not be the most accurate one?
Yeah. So, well, when you like looking at it on its face, two completely different situations, right? We have one that's a financial crime in parentheses, and then one that's a physical violence crime, right? And so that in itself are two different things. The behaviors are two different aspects, but I think for me, what was more shocking or more prevalent was that in the current CBA that the NFL is under, the prohibited conduct is enumerated. So gambling is specifically in the CBA. You will see the words gambling in the CBA, whereas sexual misconduct, sexual assault is not. Um, that's just misbehavior, which the league that kind of bites the league in the butt, according to Sue Robinson, right? Because they're trying to apply this broad standard differently to different actors, which is why you see people comparing it to Ray Rice and other people who were accused of, or other players who were accused of sexual misconduct. And but in the instance of Calvin Ridley, they're just two completely different situations. And when you're looking at the CBA, which is all that Sue Robinson has to go off of, that is the law in this case. That's all she can do. She can't, you can't compare the two. She has no say in what happens to Calvin Ridley unless it gets brought to her. So to be able, or to sit here and to compare the two situations, it's apples to oranges, and it's never going to work.
Gotcha. Well, I definitely want to, of course, get your thoughts there, and I definitely know you've dove in pretty good in terms of the understanding and the thoughts on this one as well. Now, Browns are going to be without Watson for the first 6 games. I know you want to talk a little bit about that, of course. Jacoby Brissett will more than likely be the starting quarterback. So, what do you expect to see from them starting the season?
I think I'm gonna be real honest. I think for our first 6 games, we're going 4-2. That's putting a lot of expectations on Jacoby Brissett. However, I do have a lot of faith in our defense, and I do think that our defense can carry us through those heavier games, like with the Steelers. But I think they're going to go 4-2. I think the Chargers and I think the Pats are going to be our downfall. But that would have been our downfall with Baker Mayfield anyway. So at this point, I guess it is what it is. But I fully believe that we can go 4-2 with Jacoby Brissett and our solid defense if they can stay healthy.
Well, I'm definitely going to take a note of that because I don't know if I want Jacoby to do well, but honestly, I probably would feel better if Josh Dobbs was the quarterback, to be honest. But that's just me.
Really? See, I have full faith in Jacoby. I think that he's gonna lead us. Once Deshaun comes back, we're winning the division. Like I fully believe that this year is gonna be good, and I really do think that Jacoby Brissett is gonna shock a lot of people.
Gotcha. Well, definitely had to get a little football talk in, of course, but of course, the bigger issue, of course, at hand is the suspension, and of course, what all is come about and thoughts on that. So, we'll see what happens. We'll see what all companies the Cleveland Browns season, and hopefully more understanding and more less comparison and more actually understanding of what's going on. But there's no doubt that more than likely, just like with Ben Roethlisberger, this probably going to follow Deshaun Watson probably for the rest of his career. With no doubt
100%.
about it. So
100%.
yeah, well, we'll see what happens. But I wanted to also give you the chance to kind of plug what all you're working on, because I know you do some things outside of taking the bar and things like that. So I wanted to give you the platform to actually say what all you're working on, and if you want people to reach out to on social media, whatever you have to say.
Yeah, so I right now am a content creator for Belly Up Sports. You can follow them on all social media at Belly Up. You can follow me at the Hailee Murphy anywhere and everywhere. I primarily do sports ball content. So if you have any questions, any suggestions, anything you want broken down, reach me on any social media platform, and I'd be so happy to explain anything.
All righty. Well, thank you for coming on again. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You've been watching Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out.